"Then don't call this home," my mother snapped, hanging up before I could breathe. I just stood there, phone in hand, the office lights too bright for morning. No, that's not where this story begins. It began in our Kansas suburb spring air, heavy with lilacs and debt, when I opened the family account I'd created to help. The balance glared back $6,000 gone overnight, my name still on every withdrawal. Something in me went still colder than the numbers staring back. I didn't argue. I just clicked close account. And that was the moment everything began to unravel. I grew up in a house that looked peaceful. From the street, white shutters, a small porch wind chimes my mother hung every spring. People in our neighborhood used to say the Violas were a tight family. They didn't see the cracks from the inside. I was 17 when my sister Sienna was born, already halfway out the door working late shifts at a grocery store just to afford community college textbooks. My parents called me the responsible one, but it never felt like a compliment. It meant you'll manage on your own while everything I earned disappeared into their plans for her. Back then, I still believed love meant sacrifice. My mom, Linda, had a way of talking that made guilt sound like affection. "Your sister deserves better than what we gave you," she'd say while adjusting Sienna's little tiara at her 3rd birthday party, the same week she told me there wasn't money for my prom dress. My dad, Paul, never looked up from his plate when she said things like that. He'd just clear his throat, murmur. "You know your mother means well. I learned early not to ask twice." Our house always smelled like lemon cleaner and tension. My mother's heels clicking down the hallway were the warning bell for arguments. My father hid in the garage pretending to fix the same lawnmower for years. And me, I kept my head down, chased scholarships, kept track of every penny like my life depended on it, because it did. By 25, I'd moved to Kansas City, working my way through small marketing firms until I landed a director role. No one helped me. Every dollar was mine. I used to think that was strength. Still, some part of me wanted to be invited back home without being asked for money. I'd send checks on birthdays, wire small amounts for emergencies. It made me feel like I belonged again, even if I knew it was transactional. "You're so generous," my mother would gush on speakerphone, her voice all sugar, but I could hear the sound of Sienna's laughter in the background, the same laugh from years ago when she opened boxes of gifts I could never have. I told myself it didn't bother me, but it did. Sienna grew up like a princess in a story I wasn't written into. Designer clothes before she turned 15 weekend trips with friends while my parents juggled overdue bills. "She's young," Mom always said. "Let her enjoy life." They never saw the irony. Every time I visited, the house was cleaner, shinier, emptier. New furniture, same credit card debt. My name started to show up on utility accounts just for safety. I didn't notice until it became routine. Tara, my closest friend from work, used to joke that I was the only person she knew who scheduled guilt into her calendar. She wasn't wrong. Every month I'd log in transfer money and tell myself it was helping them breathe easier. I ignored the small voice whispering it wasn't help, it was control. They didn't ask because they didn't have to. They knew I'd cave. I thought being the provider made me stronger, but it made me blind. I missed birthdays, skipped vacations, stayed late at the office all so my parents could keep pretending we were the family we used to be. Funny thing is, the only time they ever called without asking for money was when the Wi-Fi went out and they needed me to reset the router remotely. That should have told me everything. By the time Sienna hit 18, she was posting photos from restaurants that cost more than my first month's rent. My parents commented with heart emojis under every picture. When I asked how they afforded it, my mother's voice turned soft, too soft. "Don't worry about it, sweetheart. We're managing." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe we were finally okay. But deep down, I felt it, that quiet imbalance humming under the surface, the same one that started the day she told me, "Your sister deserves better." Back then, I thought she meant childhood. I didn't realize she meant everything. It started showing in the smallest ways, the tone of their voices when Sienna spoke versus when I did. If she called, Mom's laughter echoed through the house like sunlight. When I called, the line always had static. "Sorry, live bad signal," she'd say, her voice already distracted. Once during Thanksgiving, I offered to bring dessert. I spent hours baking 2 pies from scratch. Sienna showed up with a store-bought cake from Walmart, and Mom still said, See, that's thoughtful. She's learning. I smiled, but something inside me cracked a little. Sienna's life was a running highlight reel: birthday trips, nail salons, a new car at 17, all financed by luck my parents couldn't afford. They called her our second chance. My father said it once over dinner, carving turkey like it wasn't a knife to my ribs. We did our best with you, but with Sienna, we get to do it right. I remember staring at the gravy dripping off his spoon, trying not to let my hands shake. Every visit after that felt smaller. My chair at the table moved closer to the corner. My name got lost in group chats filled with prom plans and shopping lists. Still, I kept sending money to fix the roof to catch up on utilities. It became habit like brushing my teeth. The more I gave, the less they called me. At work, people called me composed, reliable, the one who never cracked under pressure. If only they knew how I'd sit in my car after family dinner's forehead against the steering wheel, replaying every offhand remark. Sienna's just a kid. You don't have to worry about us. You always had it easier. Easier. I built every inch of my life from scratch while they were building her a pedestal. Then came the year my mom started hinting at college plans for Sienna. We might need a little help with tuition, she said one Sunday, stirring sugar into her coffee like it wasn't manipulation. I nodded because that's what I'd always done. But later that night, scrolling through Instagram, I saw Sienna's new post front row seats at a concert, a luxury handbag hanging from her wrist. My thumb hovered over the screen. The caption read, "Hard work pays off." I laughed out loud, but it didn't sound like laughter. The next week, she texted, "You're the reason I can dream big." I almost believed her until I noticed Mom had sent her $500 from our family account. My money. I wanted to confront them, but every time I imagined Mom's disappointed sigh, I backed down. That sigh was her sharpest weapon. It could cut through resolve faster than words. Sienna started calling me corporate. Olivia, half teasing, half mocking. "You probably wear a blazer to sleep," she said once, giggling. I pretended it didn't sting. She didn't know that same blazer was the only armor I had left the symbol of every night I'd stayed late, every chance I'd earned. She never had to earn anything. Still, I kept showing up. Every holiday, every crisis. I brought groceries when their fridge broke. I paid the car insurance when Dad forgot. And every time I walked through that front door, Mom would hug me with one arm, the other already reaching for my wallet. I told myself that was family. But somewhere deep down, I knew it was debt collection disguised as love. I kept thinking, maybe if I gave enough, they'd finally see me. Maybe they'd say thank you or just, "We're proud of you." But the truth, they didn't want a daughter who stood on her own. They wanted an account that never ran out. And the day I realized that the air around me changed. The laughter at that dinner table started sounding like something else, like a countdown I couldn't yet hear. It was a Tuesday morning quiet, except for the buzz of my phone sliding across the desk. A text from Sienna lit up the screen like a siren. "Need $3,000 for prom? No, hi, no, please. Just that." I blinked, thinking maybe I'd read it wrong. Then another came in. "Send it today. I already told everyone I'd have the dress." My stomach dropped. I typed back, "Work for it, Sienna. I'm not your bank," she called immediately. Her voice hit my ear like nails on glass. "You're unbelievable. It's one night. Why can't you just help me for once? The words burned. I stared out the office window, Kansas City skyline bright and cold, and said quietly, "Because you need to learn." The line went dead. Minutes later, Mom texted, "If you don't help your sister, don't call this home." My chest tightened so hard I forgot to breathe. A second text followed from Dad. "You've forgotten where you came from." I just sat there, frozen. The hum of the fluorescent lights felt deafening. I could almost smell the lemon cleaner from their house, that same mix of guilt and control. By lunch, I still hadn't moved. My inbox overflowed coworkers passing by with coffee and small talk, and I just kept staring at that message thread. "Don't call this home." 4 words that erased 36 years. Then the email hit large transaction alert. $6,000 withdrawn from the family account. My name on the top line. My signature on the creation form. My money gone. I clicked into the statement, heart thudding. There it was, withdrawal after withdrawal, months of them. Some to department stores, some to event planners, one even labeled Sienna's Prom Dreams LLC. My vision blurred. I called my mother, my voice calm but cracking at the edges. "Did you take money from the account Silence?" Then cool as ever. "We used it for family needs. You wouldn't understand." I bit my lip until I tasted metal. "Family needs," I whispered. "Or Sienna's wants." She sighed that same theatrical sigh that had ended every argument since I was a kid. "You've always been selfish, Olivia. You think success makes you better than us." The line clicked off. Just like that. I didn't throw my phone. I didn't cry. I opened a blank document and began listing every transfer, every date, every excuse. My hands shook, but my breathing slowed. I was done explaining myself. That night, Tara met me at her office. "You sure you want to know?" she asked, typing my login. I nodded. The screen filled with years of transactions. Over $120,000 gone. Credit cards, car payments, vacations, boutique purchases. I felt my pulse in my throat. Tara looked up, her voice steady. "They've been using your money to live like nothing's wrong." Something inside me went silent. Not broken, just finished. The kind of silence that comes before thunder. I stared at the monitor until my reflection blurred into the numbers. The next morning, I sat alone at my desk. Sunlight hit the glass wall, too bright to look at. I opened the bank app, scrolled to joint family account, and pressed close account. One tap, one breath, one clean break. No texts, no explanations, just the hollow ping confirming it was done. For the first time, the quiet didn't scare me. It felt like oxygen. And somewhere deep down, I knew that silence would be louder than any revenge speech I could ever give. The morning after I closed the account, everything looked sharper. The coffee tasted stronger, the city noise clearer. It was strange how peace could feel like adrenaline. My phone lit up, every hour calls from Mom, Dad, Sienna. But I didn't answer. I watched each name flash, then fade. By noon, I'd blocked all three. No announcement, no speech, just quiet. At work, I threw myself into projects I'd been putting off. New campaigns, late nights, clean numbers on a spreadsheet that actually balanced. For once, the only debts I managed were professional ones. Tara stopped by my office one evening, leaning against the doorframe. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. Better than I've ever been. And I meant it, because I was finally free of the constant buzzing guilt in my chest. But freedom didn't come cheap. The guilt still knocked sometimes in the silence before sleep or when I passed a family having dinner through a restaurant window. I'd remind myself love isn't measured in wire transfers. Still, part of me ached for what I thought we had. That's when I started therapy. Every Thursday at 6 p.m., I'd sit across from Dr. Hayes, learning that boundaries aren't walls. They're doors you choose who to let in. By spring, I'd paid off my own student loans and opened a new savings account, one with only my name on it. I bought a small condo downtown with wide windows and light that poured in like forgiveness. The first thing I put on the counter was a candle, vanilla, like the one Mom used to light before pretending everything was fine. Except this time, it was my light in my home. Tara called it my comeback era. She laughed when I showed her the paperwork for a nonprofit marketing project I'd launched on the side, helping single women manage finances after family manipulation. Poetic justice, she said. Maybe it was. I didn't build it for revenge, but if anyone from my old life stumbled on the press release, that was just bonus. Months passed, and their silence stretched longer than I expected. No apologies. Just small ripples through relatives' messages from my Aunt Melanie about how hard things have been back home. I didn't ask for details, but one night curiosity got me. I logged into public property records. The house on Birch Street was listed for foreclosure. I didn't feel joy. Not really. Just a slow, quiet recognition of cause and effect. Choices. Consequences. The same math I'd lived by for years. They'd built their comfort on my exhaustion, and now the ground had given out. The next week, I saw Sienna's name on social media again, working part-time at a clothing store, folding jeans under fluorescent lights. No filters, No sparkle. For the first time, her expression looked real, tired, human. I didn't comment. I didn't like the post. I just stared for a second before locking my phone. I spent that evening cooking for myself something I hadn't done in years, pasta wine music. The city outside felt alive, forgiving. I realized revenge didn't have to look like destruction. Sometimes it looked like peace so loud it drowned out the noise they left behind. The next morning, I woke before sunrise, opened the balcony door, and let the cool air fill my lungs. Below me, the streets were empty, quiet. I thought about all the money, all the years, all the begging for love I'd already paid for. Not anymore. And as the first light hit the buildings, I smiled. Not because I'd won, but because I'd finally stopped playing. It happened almost a year later. I was walking through downtown on a Sunday morning, coffee and handspring air, still cold enough to sting my cheeks. A help wanted sign hung in the window of a small boutique, and behind the glass folding sweaters under a flickering light, Sienna, for a second time, froze. She looked older, hair pulled back, face bare. There was no phone in her hand, no designer bag, just quiet exhaustion. Our eyes met through the glass. Her lips parted like she might say something, but she didn't. Neither did I. I just smiled, small and calm, then turned away. I walked to my car, the same one they once said was too much for one person. The engine hummed soft and steady. Through the rearview mirror, the store grew smaller until it vanished behind traffic. I didn't feel triumph, just peace, clean, measured, earned. That night, I lit the same vanilla candle on my kitchen counter. The flame flickered against the window, reflecting back at me like a heartbeat. I thought about my mother's words. Don't call this home. Funny how she was right. I'd found a better one. Outside, the city lights shimmered across the glass towers, quiet and gold. I realized closure wasn't them. Apologizing, it was me no longer needing it. Have you ever had to walk away from people you thought were your home just to finally breathe again? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear your story.